Hey everyone, Joshua Warren Sales, candidate for TN7's congressional district. I got the chance this past weekend to sit down with the very first ever Democratic nominee for Montgomery County Mayor, Isaac Greenwood. We discussed a few things in this video. We talked about how healthcare is more than just a doctor's visit. We talked about how education for students is more than just the textbook in the classroom. And we talked about how the government should listen to the people instead of just doing what their corporate interests wanted them to do. So without further ado, here's the video. Isaac and myself sitting down in the Montgomery County Library having a discussion about all of these issues and how each of us at our different levels plan on addressing them. I hope you enjoy. All right. I'm Joshua Warren Sales, running for U.S. House in Tennessee's Congressional District 7. I'm here today with...
I'm Isaac Greenwood, running for County Mayor of Montgomery County.
So one of the things I wanted to talk with Isaac today about is one of the bills I'm running on. It's a bill that I think is major because it's shocking to me to hear studies come out. A 2020 study named that 60 to 65,000 Americans die every year from a lack of health care.
Yeah.
We claim to be the greatest country, the richest country, the strongest country, the everything. And yet we allow 60 to 65,000 Americans to die because they can't afford health care.
Yeah.
Flip side of that coin, 2022, health insurance companies, through stock dividends and stock buybacks, provided $170 billion to their shareholders.
Yeah.
So we have two things happening, right? Two things we have to hold as true. People are making a profit off of our healthcare system. And in my lifetime, based off of that projection of 60 to 65,000 Americans, 2 million Americans have died from lack of health care. So to me, the question becomes, is that truly what America wants? To allow 2 million Americans to die every generation so that the 1% can make a profit?
Right. I don't think it is. I really don't.
I don't, and I think that that's something that, would you agree that that mindset transcends party lines?
100%. I think most people, when it comes to them, their family, and their loved ones, agree wholeheartedly with that. The problem is when we have these wedge issues that make us feel like we're enemies when we're really all in the same boat.
Yeah, and it's, I was talking the other day with Noah Wade, who is running in Robertson County for County Commission 5. He's a young man. He is like 21, 22 years old, super amazing guy. He works as an EMS.
Oh, nice, okay, yeah.
And he's running because he was like, Josh, I've literally watched budget cut after budget cut, which translates to, in our rural communities, it might take me an extra 3 minutes to get to you while you're having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And that's literally the difference between living or dying.
Yeah.
And so it's getting to the point where we are seeing at a local level these things happening. I'm sure if only 100 people watch this video, 10 of them probably have a story related to healthcare being too expensive, whether it is putting off a surgery they needed, whether it's being bankrupted by medical bills, whether it is having a loved one who passed away because they couldn't afford the healthcare that they needed.
I think most people in America can have the experience of thinking they should probably go to the hospital at some point and not wanting to call an ambulance.
Yeah.
And not wanting to get those bills. Like I almost feel like it's universal unless you're part of the class that has millions and millions of dollars to throw at it.
Yeah. I remember being a young man, early 20s, just out of the Army, being diagnosed as a disabled veteran and not realizing that came with VA insurance.
Yeah.
And living on my own, not having any like family providing for me or anything, literally like everything I was making, I was waiting tables,
Yeah.
going to college, paying for my own apartment, paying for my own car, paying for everything, and not being able to afford health insurance.
Yeah.
Not even being offered by some of my jobs health insurance.
Oh yeah.
And being like, man, I feel like crap today, but I can't go to a doctor because I can't afford to pay that out of pocket. It was years until I was talking to like a VA person and they were like, Josh, you have, like, you're a disabled veteran, you have VA insurance, go to the VA doctors. So I'm lucky to have that, but that's not even, again, you have to be a disabled veteran to achieve that.
I mean, I'll say, like, I make decent money. Like, it's, especially compared to when I was a server, delivery, like all of those things. Like, I make pretty good money now, but like, I want to say like 3 weeks ago, my wife was pregnant. She and my daughter were sick with some sort of respiratory virus. She got to the point where like she was not really able to breathe well. She was like, I'm struggling to get air. We didn't have to, but we waited until her mom was able to drive 30 to 45 minutes so she could watch our current daughter so that we could drive her to the hospital to make sure that like everything was okay, because we're not in the space where we can afford thousands of dollars for an ambulance ride. It's crazy, and it's just, that is the reality that most Americans live in, and I feel like a lot of the time we don't even think of an alternative. Like we don't think it's possible, and it's sad.
Let's name two things, right? One of the number one insurance in America is GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's insane.
The second thing is health cost has only gone up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
I know single mothers who half of their paycheck goes to their health insurance.
Yeah.
And then they have to still afford housing, food, clothes for their kids, all that stuff. And it's like they make enough, as these are some of my teacher friends, they make enough as a teacher to no longer qualify for like WIC and TennCare and all that, but not enough that like they're actually prospering. And so then they talk to me about, you know, like, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay for my kids' college.
Right.
So you've mentioned a couple times now an alternative. Yeah. What do you mean by this alternative to our system?
So I think it's kind of what we talked about, which is the idea of universal health care. I lived in England for basically high school for 2.5 years, and their universal healthcare system is not perfect, but it does mean that stress-free, when you are sick, you can go and see a doctor. Yeah. It does mean that regardless of your situation, you know that you have care, and even just the mental strain alone or the reduction of the mental strain alone is so worth it, let alone the fact that it doesn't cost you anything. Like, it comes out of your income taxes, but like, especially if you're not making a lot of money, the income taxes are comparable between here in England in many ways.
And so, like, I want to build onto that because you have so many people who they will point to England, they will point to Canada, and they'll be like, well, that's what universal healthcare is, and it sucks there. Right. And it's like, well, one, like, you're picking two cases. And especially when we talk about England, we have to
suck, honestly.
Yeah, they're honestly, compared to ours, like, again, they're not having tens of thousands of citizens die from not being able to afford it. Yeah. They have higher life expectancies than we do. So they are getting better medical outcomes than we are. Yeah. But like, let's even talk about the fact that England has, for years now, actually been defunding their universal healthcare system. And that's why we're seeing it
for decades,
be worse. Really. And to me, I'm like, well, yeah, we can look at one place and be like, well, it's not great there. There are dozens of countries around this world that do universal healthcare. And to me, I'm like, okay, so we look at all of them. We see how they're doing. We see what they do well. Yeah. We see what they're not doing well.
Yeah.
And we figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, we're stuck in this, like, we have to stay with what we have because that's not perfect, even though it's better.
I think as well, it's the idea of the best we could do is the worst of what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Which is truly like such a uniquely, I feel like it's uniquely almost an un-American mindset to a certain degree. Because in every other way, I feel like we have this idea of like perfectionism and individualism and like being the best country. So to make the assumption that like we can only do as well as the worst countries who are doing universal healthcare is kind of wild.
Yeah.
And like again, it's not perfect, but like there's my dad as an example. When we were living over there, he had to get I don't think it was heart surgery. I think it was a heart stent or something like that.
Okay.
And it was dangerous, you know, and it could have taken up to 3 months to get him in for surgery.
Okay.
So there could have been an issue, but they looked at it, they diagnosed it, they reevaluated it, and he was in, I want to say like after 2 weeks. And again, we are not the same as England. Like their healthcare infrastructure has been chronically underfunded for decades. And if we, with even just our current infrastructure, transition to a universal healthcare system, we're fine.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I want to talk about cost, right? Because that's one of the number beyond, right? We've already addressed the infrastructure of it. We've already addressed the need of it. One of the top things that people bring up is cost, which the first thing I always remind them of is the Koch brothers, some of the most conservative people on this planet, funded a study that literally found universal healthcare works and is cheaper than our current system.
Oh yeah.
So here in America, we spend on average $15,000 per capita. So per person, $15,000 a year on healthcare.
Yeah.
That is double what some of these countries we're talking about spend.
Yeah.
That have, again, Germany, they live on average 4 years more than we do here. Yeah. And that might be attributed to a number of things, but I definitely think when you're able to go to a doctor and get your blood pressure under control so you don't have a heart attack, yeah, that's definitely going to contribute to life expectancy.
Right.
So cheaper, better outcomes, but why is it cheaper?
Right.
Right? And before we started filming, you and I were talking about like this idea of the middleman.
Yeah.
Do you want to like espouse on that?
Yeah. So it's just basic economic principle of like for every hop between the producer and the consumer, it's going to cost more, like hands down. And so insurance companies are a middleman in that. They are an extra hop. You can talk to this a lot better than I can, but having that middleman kind of removed from the situation, especially in a world where they are specifically profiting billions of dollars, would save money. Like it's unquestionable.
And so it's true, right? If we are able to remove the middleman, take out that profit margin, and say healthcare is a right, we can get into the Constitution, where the Constitution within its preamble names that the purpose of our government is to provide the general welfare of the people. And I would heavily argue that that does mean that if our government is capable of giving us health care as a right, they should. So when we look at this and we say, okay, take out the profit margin, we go down to about $2.6 trillion. That's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But what we need to recognize is that we're already paying about $2 trillion a year on Medicare and Medicaid. So really, we have this $600 billion that we need to make up. My healthcare bill, No One Left Behind, introduces a progressive tax system. The first $50,000 you make a year is taxed at 0.5%. The next $50,000 at 1%, and then it goes up 1% for every 100,000 bucket. The median household in America, meaning that half of all households make less than this, the median household in America makes $85,000 a year. At that rate, they would be paying $50 a month. That is premium, deductible, copays. That is doctor visits, prescriptions, dental, vision, mental health.
Yeah.
$50 a month.
Yeah.
So half of American households would be paying $600 a year. That's how much some families pay a month right now, just for the premium, let alone the deductibles and the copays. And that's just for healthcare, not adding on vision and dental and everything else.
Yeah.
So they pay that much. Even a family making $500,000, which at that point we're talking the top 2% of Americans.
Yeah.
And let's be real, Tennessee has a lower income median
Oh yeah.
than the rest of the country does.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking Tennessee, it's truly only like the 0.5% at the top.
Yeah. I think I have to double check. I want to say Montgomery County is in the 74, but that also might be one of our districts. Yeah.
And so, absolutely. So the majority of households here would be paying less than $50 a month.
Yeah.
So ask yourself right now, if you're watching this video, how much do you currently pay for healthcare? I gave you the equation, right? You can do the math yourself, or you can just ballpark. $85,000 is $50 a month. $125,000 becomes about $100 a month. $200,000 becomes like $250 a month. You can do the math yourself. This is going to save you money. For 99% of the people in this country, and I'm willing to bet 100% of the people watching this video, just based off the demographics of like who follow me and who watches these videos.
I think it's like the basic question that I think we've been coming to as a country is like, at what point is ensuring that a corporation makes money is allowable when it is harming American citizens?
Yeah. And let's be clear, Big Pharma, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Bayer, all of these companies, even in Europe, make a profit.
Oh, yeah.
It's less of a profit than what they make here, but they still make a profit. So this is not like communist, like no company can ever make a profit.
Yeah.
This is literally just saying you are making money off of the death of Americans. Like, I want to be clear about that. As a veteran, 3,000 people died on 9/11 and we went to war.
Yeah.
60,000 die a year. And we say there's nothing we can do about it. We can't even change the law. I'm not even with my bill trying to get people arrested and put in jail. I'm simply saying you can no longer make the profit that you're making.
Yeah.
If it means Americans are dying. Because when I swore an oath to the Constitution, it was against enemies foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're killing 60,000 Americans a year, you are a domestic enemy.
Yeah.
So the average family saves money. Again, we just established here in Montgomery, that is probably 2 out of every 3 households.
At least,
is going to be saving money drastically, right? And I mean at the like $50 a month level.
Right.
Compared to, I would be willing to bet that 99% of the people in Montgomery County are gonna save money on this.
Right.
The average family saves approximately $10,000. We looked it up beforehand. There's about 90,000 households in Montgomery County.
And to clarify, you're just talking $10,000 annually, correct?
Correct.
Right.
$10,000 a year.
Yeah.
So if we take the 90,000 households, we multiply it by the average savings of 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
We do what's called an economic multiplier. This is the idea that if you go to your local restaurant, you spend money there. The person who owns the restaurant then uses that money to pay their employee. The employee then goes to the local laundromat to get their clothes cleaned and pays them. It goes to so it's this thing where it's like that $1 actually bounces around.
Yeah.
Before it ever leaves, right? When we have a healthcare system that prioritizes profit, that money goes straight to the health insurance company's CEO, who then puts it in some bank account in the Cayman Islands, and we as an American people never see that dollar again in our economy.
Right.
This puts that into the economy. So we take the 90,000, multiply it by 10,000, multiply it by an economic multiplier of 1.5, which is honestly a conservative economic multiplier.
And I'll say, like, on top of that, it's like the more we can build up Montgomery County locally, the more we can allow small businesses locally to thrive. That economic multiplier goes up.
Correct.
So that it's better for everyone the more we can build ourselves up locally with this.
Yeah. And so we are talking the very first year that this is introduced, right? Because like you said, like as it continues, businesses thrive, they hire more people, they expand, more entrepreneurs start popping up.
Yeah.
But the first year alone, you multiply the 90,000 by 10,000 by 1.5 by the county sales tax of 2.5%. And I think when we did the math earlier, it was just over $30 million a year.
Yeah.
So you're running for county mayor.
Yeah.
What would $30 million of extra sales tax revenue? So again, this saves the average person, not even the average person, 99% of the people in Montgomery County save money from this. And then it hands the local government, the county government, $30 million that you now get to do what you want with. What could you do with that?
A million different things. I mean, just to start, we are decades behind most other counties of our size. There's so many projects that we need to catch up on from an infrastructure standpoint. I know that like I want to also bring in a housing cooperative, and that requires administrative costs to kind of get off the ground to the tune of a few $1 million. There's roundabouts, there's lighting, there's the library branches, there's schools, because we fund the school system through the county here.
Yeah.
Improving our school system, paying our teachers better. There's a million different things. And on top of that, especially the federal CEP program that I'd like to kind of get involved with, where it's free school meals for all kids, regardless of their income, that would really help us as a county be investing in our future.
And I want to be clear because like I was a kid who received free school lunches, right? Reduced or free lunches my whole childhood. And when you have a system that doesn't give all kids free lunches, when it says, okay, we're only going to do a targeted income level, that introduces a stigma, right? That forces the kid in front of their friends to literally say, hey, yeah, I get the free school lunch.
Right.
Which then directly translates into, I'm poor.
Right.
And so because kids are so defensive about that type of stuff and they don't want to talk about it, and let's be real, adults are too.
Oh, yeah.
They're less likely to do that. And so you have kids who aren't getting enough food already show up to the school and not be willing to admit that they need the assistance. And then get even less food. I'm a teacher. It shouldn't shock anyone who has a kid. It shouldn't shock anyone who's been around kids. If kids are hungry, they can't learn. If they can't learn, we see our education system get worse and worse. It goes to the long term, like we've been talking about, where then your employees down the line aren't set up for success.
And it's even more than that. I mean, I know a lot of people here in the county, we've had a lot of concern around crime. And we don't even have that much crime around here. But a lot of the crime that we do have is caused by kids or juveniles. And, you know, I'm not going to say that, like, if they were all fed that those crimes wouldn't happen. But there is a statistical, if I could talk, statistical correlation between kids who are going hungry and kids who cause crimes. Poverty is the number one correlating thing with crime.
Absolutely. And so that is the other thing to mention. Like when we are essentially handing back to the average family $10,000 extra a year,
Yeah.
so many families no longer are riding that line of poverty. So many families are able to do much more as the economy booms because the local economy is being fed in by this money that everyone now has.
Yeah.
More people are hired, which means unemployment goes down, which again correlates to levels of poverty.
Yeah.
Employers can pay their people more.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even touch on the fact that like small businesses no longer have to compete with super expensive health insurance plans.
Yeah.
Because now it's covered by the government.
Yeah.
And so these small local employers, the mom and dad shops are able to compete better against the bigger companies.
Yeah.
Hire more people, raise people out of poverty, which then lowers crime rates.
Right.
While giving people better health care.
Yeah. And there's so many things we could touch on with this. I think you touched on it briefly. The last thing that I think, unless you have more that I think we haven't really talked about, is like just the fact that from an economic standpoint, this can't even be factored in what we've already talked about. The amount of sickness that goes around from workers who force themselves to continue to work while sick, or work themselves until they're...
The amount of time that I've worked a lot in restaurants. That's how I paid my way through college.
Yeah.
That's even after college I worked in them for a bit until I got into education. The amount of times I was told by a superior, oh, I know that you're running a fever, but we're short-staffed, like you need to stay on.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason I don't eat out much because I've worked in those places.
If you work in restaurants long enough, you kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's this thing where, again, like, y'all, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't have to be that way.
Right.
So that goes to your point.
But yeah, because it even goes from there. Like even just in our school system, one of the things that I want to try to do, like we could do with that $30 million, is invest in UV filtration systems in our school system to kill respiratory viruses and other sort of things like that in our schools, which then would mean that all of the parents would be less likely to get sick, which then would mean all of them are less likely to be working sick or have to take time off, which is in and of itself a huge economic multiplier too.
Yeah.
So it all feeds together.
It absolutely does. What it essentially does, and this is why I like talking with local candidates, right? Not just other federal candidates, but it's this idea that I have said again and again and again of big government for small government.
Yeah.
Right? This idea of when you are elected county mayor, you don't have the power to take on big insurance companies.
Yeah.
When I'm elected at the federal level, I do.
Right.
And so I fight that fight. I do that. I tell the insurance companies, hey, you're not doing this anymore. And frankly, it's part of why I don't take corporate PAC money, because people who do are more likely to just fall in line.
And to be fair, I will say, I have a current plan to fight insurance companies where possible at a local level.
Yeah.
I'm not at the stage where I can say for sure, like functionally the idea is a health insurance cooperative or healthcare cooperative.
Yeah.
That is community owned and organized, because too often around here we have an issue where the competition in the private sector knows that they can just charge whatever their competitor is charging or more and get away with it.
Yeah.
And if you we see this in Chattanooga, we see this here with CMC and other industries, where it's like if there is a competitive nonprofit sector that goes alongside it, those industries have to be competitive with that nonprofit sector. And that's really where we can find those opportunities to bring the cost down for everyone as well at the local level.
Yeah, and I think that is a good idea, because like when you think about it, like we talk about health insurance as this whole thing of like, oh, there's all these different health insurance companies.
Yeah.
Go to your HR department and ask them if you can switch to a different health insurance company. They're gonna tell you no. You only get the one that your job,
maybe 3 max.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so,
And they're all basically the same.
yeah, and so but my point is right, like every job is going to be like, no, we're already partnered with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Right.
So like if you want to go to a different one, you're more than welcome to, but we are not paying our portion of it anymore.
Yeah.
And so creating this like local health co-op does create options for people to go to, let alone the people who, you know, work part-time or their job simply doesn't offer them health insurance.
Yeah. To be clear, I don't mean a healthcare provider. I mean literally a healthcare insurance cooperative.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we already do pay, or we have county-wide insurance for county employees. I think for city employees too, but don't quote me on that. And the idea would be taking that model and applying it to a county-wide, or really it would have to be something that because I worked in health insurance, sadly, for a little bit. So like the long and the short of it is that you have to be very careful when starting up an insurance company because the pool of risk can explode. Or implode rather. So you need to be very careful about it, which is why I'm like hesitant about really, like it's not on my platform right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of math that goes into it.
There is. I mean, insurance has been around for centuries, realistically. And it started as this math equation of if everyone puts in this amount, that is enough to pay for the 10 people out of the 1,000 on this that get sick and need the money. It's only within the last couple of decades, arguably, gotten worse and worse and worse, where health insurance premiums are hundreds % higher than they were decades ago.
And it's even worse because like anytime anybody who's ever interacted with the healthcare system here, I feel like knows that there's always things that you know and your doctor knows are better for you, that your health insurance will limit, like whether that's like your prescription medication, whether that's like a procedure, like there's a million different things that your insurance company will be like, well, we don't cover that, sorry. I
was down in Perry County a couple months ago. This is back before the state legislature redistricted Tennessee 7 and Perry County was part of Tennessee 7. There was a gentleman who was a janitor at one of the local schools who the insurance he had was one of these junk insurance plans that the doctor was like, you have cancer, this is the treatment I am prescribing, and the insurance said, we're not going to do that. And so this guy is literally like, his family was doing like a fish fry to try and raise the money they needed for this when he already had health insurance. And like, we can tie that directly to my Republican opponent, Matt Van Apps, this year voted to allow those type of junk insurance plans to happen. It's this idea of, oh, this plan is only $100 a month, you can afford this plan. But the truth is, either the deductible is so crazy high that it doesn't matter, or it only covers like a handful of things. And so when you get into these bigger situations, you're essentially screwed over. And that is literally what this guy was running into. And again, I think you don't have to go far to find people who had these stories, because it is such a common thing in America today. And I think you asked this question earlier that kind of sums it all up. When is enough enough? Right? How much do we allow these companies to make while these are the outcomes we're getting? And so it is a thing, right? I'm running on 12 bills. You can go to salesforcongress.com, click on the sales plan, read all 12. They are actively, continuously being worked on. Isaac, before this, kind of gave me some pointers on some that I'm going to go and edit, because I'm a teacher with an English degree. I don't know everything. I tell my students this too. I don't. What I tell them is, if you listen, you can learn from every person you meet. And that is the concept of why I do these videos. This is the concept of why I go and do town halls, why I, this past weekend, was in Red Boiling Springs for their folk medicine festival, just walking around and talking with people, because it continuously builds these bills better, and it makes them not just something I wrote, but that Tennessee 7 wrote, so that it's the best it can be for Tennessee 7. And so this is one bill of 12. And we just talked through how it literally changes so much of the equation. From the individual no longer being afraid to go to the doctor when they're not feeling well because they don't know if they can afford it, to the average family saving $10,000 a year, to that money being spent at a local level, which builds the local economy, to that money then being used as sales tax revenue to generate your ability to do your job as a mayor better.
To build the road infrastructure we need to not have traffic every single day, to build the school systems we need to repair the schools that we have, to pay our teachers better, to provide free school meals for kids, to support our farmers, to have a farm to table or farm to cafeteria program that I've mentioned before. And do we want to segue on that note into
education?
How much time do we have?
Like 45 minutes.
Okay.
I think honestly we've covered a good amount today.
Oh,
like this video, I think I'm willing to bet we're over half an hour on this video alone. But I think it goes into the deep dive and the honest conversations we need to have about this stuff. Because so many times, if I were to be a politician and I come out and I say, I'm running for universal health care, what so often is the thing you hear?
The wait times? I mean, there's no things.
The wait times, the cost of it. This is socialism. Right? And so it's this thing where it's like, I think, and this is something I teach my students too, like I encourage them to question authority. Because otherwise authority runs tyrant. And so I think the thing we need to ask ourselves is, if everything we talked about sounds better for the 99% of Americans, why do they keep calling it socialism? Why do they keep like using this word that like they know turns your brain off so that you don't listen to it?
When they also get it themselves. Like, to be real, they have free healthcare once you get to the federal congressional level. So it's very much a, what is it, like, for me but not for thee, or something like that, you know? And
so, you know, I think about like even the sense of, on a religious note, right? When Jesus resurrected Lazarus, did he go, where's your insurance card? Right?
No,
like it's this thing where it's like, we have the means to do better for each other. We know, again, the conservative Koch brothers funded a study that proved that this works and it's cheaper. So we know that this is better. We know that it is cheaper. It just means that some people don't get to make the millions and billions of dollars of profits that they currently are. And frankly, I don't care. I would rather, right? Because we also went through how this helps local economies. I would rather support local economies, the health of the American people, at a cheaper cost than what we're currently paying, than to continue the system we have that is allowing 60 to 65,000 Americans to die every year. I'm 35 years old. Multiply that out, that's 2 million people have died in my lifetime because we are allowing companies to make a profit off of this. And again, like not eliminate any profit. Like they're still gonna make a profit. They're just not gonna make the level of profit that they currently are. To me, again, like I think we'll end with this call to action. It needs to go beyond Isaac and I talking about this. If you watch this video from start to finish and all you do is agree with us and walk off, cool, awesome. Isaac got a vote, I got a vote.
Yeah.
But if you go to your friends, you go to your family, you go to your coworkers, you go to people in your life, if each person who watches this video then goes and talks to 10 people about it.
I want to pro tip, most of having a conversation with people, and you know this, is listening. Like, I wouldn't go and just walk up to your family and be like, hey, have you heard about our Lord and Savior universal healthcare? I mean, you can, but really, I would start with just like, hey, how's the healthcare system been for you, right? Talk about the issues that
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Talk like between yourselves about the times where you have had issues, about the times where you couldn't afford an ambulance ride, things like that. Because at the end of the day, it's one of the reasons I like you so much, because you are very much on board with me, where we have to be listening to people. Listening, the age-old adage of you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right?
Yeah.
I've had so many good conversations with people that I would not think agreed with me at all on many things, just because I wasn't lecturing them, I was listening to them and replying to them in a conversation.
And frankly, like, I'm not afraid to like talk about where Democrats have failed.
Oh yeah.
I think that is one of the chief issues Democrats have had, is that they go into rural communities and they preach, they lecture instead of talk and listen.
Yeah.
And so that is something that is part of, I mean, my open door tour is literally about going and being in conversation. They're not your typical town halls where someone asks me a question and then I go on a speech for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's literally, they ask me a question and then I might ask someone else in the audience a question to build this conversation, because again, it's not just about me running. Yeah. It's about building this community, because community always wins.
The phrase that I've been using recently is that you are the expert on your life. You're the expert on your family's lives. And on a local level, for instance, like, we don't know all of the issues. Nobody is perfect, and anybody pretending to be so is only going to be more flawed as a result of them pretending.
Yeah.
And it's why, like, the open door tour, like, I built into my campaign a survey directly on my website, pulling in concerns from the community, and I learned new things every single time I read those.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, like, oh yeah, for this intersection, it causes these issues, or they talk about, like, I'm in this school and this school has these concerns, and those are things that, like, if you just wait for them to bubble up, especially all the way to the national level, that's hard. Like, at best, that's hard. So we need people in power who are willing to do the legwork, to listen to people, to gather their feedback, and to utilize the expertise that we all have in our lives.
Every semester, I actually give my students a survey about me and my class.
Yeah.
And I tell them, like, hey, this is 100% like it's for extra credit. You can completely say you hated my class. You just need to tell me why you hated it, so that I can make it better.
Yeah. And
the amount of response I get from my students, and especially after that first quarter, when they get to do that survey and they get to see me, like, actually respond and, like, do better for them, they find quickly, like, oh no, like, this guy means it. And that is something that that's the accountability that our representatives, whether it's a county mayor or a federal U.S. congressman, needs to have, because that is not the accountability we currently have. So again, like, this is my promise to you. If you guys get us elected, when you get us elected, we will continue to have these conversations, not just with each other, but with you. I will never vote on a bill that I cannot come to any town in my district and explain why I voted on it the way I did. Because if I can't do that, then I'm not doing my job. So get out, be in conversation with your families, with your families and friends. I combine
your
them for a
families.
second.
I mean, yeah.
With your coworkers, with whoever you can, have a conversation with them.
And I'll add to that. I mean, like, at least for me, my election's very soon. And any way you can help at all would be appreciated, financially, volunteer-wise, otherwise. But I'll also say, even if you're not willing to do that or don't have the means to do that, building your own personal community is something that I feel like more people, especially after COVID, need to realize has to be kind of be part of it.
Yeah.
Like, if we only stay in the bubbles that we have formed, especially since COVID, we're very much limiting the impact we can have.
Absolutely.
And so, like, I make a long story short, I had to a few years ago, like, go out and start being very proactive about being engaged in the community, and I'm so much better off for it.
Yeah.
And I've had so much more impact for it. And I think, like, for me, that was just going to a local game store and playing board games with people for a while. And I think a lot of people don't even take that step for a million different reasons. But all I'm asking is for you to try to take that step if that is the most you can do, right?
So, Isaac, where can people find you?
So, online, Facebook, all the things. Greenwood for Moco, F-O-R, GRENWOOD, FORMOCO. And that's .com, that's my tags on all of the social medias.
Okay.
You can also just look up Isaac Greenwood, County Mayor, Montgomery County, all that stuff.
And that should pop up.
Yeah.
You named a few things people could do. And yes, again, y'all, I have said since day one of my campaign, if I leave having built community, I will have considered it a win on a personal level. So absolutely that. But what are the things you need? In what order? And like, and for people, like, I want to be clear. Like, I absolutely believe in the philosophy of not everyone can do everything, but everyone can do something.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, well, I don't have $1,000 to donate, but you have 10 hours that you can phone bank.
Yeah.
If you don't have the 10 hours to phone bank because you don't like talking on the phone.
Yeah, postcard writing.
You want to do postcard writing.
Yeah.
Or you want to do you love throwing house parties and you want to have Isaac or myself over and have us speak to the people there. Yeah. Like, there's so many things you can do without even having to donate money. As always, like, campaigns do need money, so you can donate money, please do.
I'll say, like, just to start by just getting in contact, right? Like, every individual person has different things that they can give. And I know personally, when I was first getting involved in the scene, it felt like people were only asking me to, like, canvas and phone bank, and I did not want to do those. I didn't have the money to donate. Yeah. But there are so many more things that can be done, and you kind of have to build your way up to those things. And it starts by building connection. Yeah. It starts by having those one-on-one conversations, whether that's with me, my volunteer coordinator, with you. Like, it starts there. Even just like we had talked about, engaging in your community about these topics, or filling out my survey about your concerns. Like, all of those things are steps to help, right? And I think, like, I could always be like, yeah, money would be nice, right? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, any help is appreciated. So. Awesome. Well, if you've made it this far through the video, thank you so much for sticking with us. Isaac, thank you so much for thank you for having me. Yeah. Best of luck. Isaac's election is August 6th. It's for anyone in Montgomery County. Or in Clarksville. Clarksville's in Montgomery County. Yes. He's running as the Democratic nominee. First ever. Yeah, first ever to run for Montgomery County Mayor. Wow. Yeah. First ever Democratic nominee for Montgomery County Mayor. You've heard it from him here. He listens to the people. He keeps them in mind. He's focused on building this community up
in such a way that it can sustain itself. It doesn't need outside help. It can function and continue and build itself better and better and better. And I think that's all anyone could ever ask for a local elected official.
Yeah. I'm of the mindset where, so I'm a system analyst, data engineer kind of person, and I very much believe that we can build things to your point, to do well for us here. And outside help would be nice. Don't get me wrong, like I'll take the extra help for the county from universal healthcare, from the CEP program, all of those things. But we can do it here. We just need to be willing to work hard to get there.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, Americans pride themselves on their ability to work hard.
Right.
And so I think, that is a message that transcends party line, because honestly, what have we said that shouldn't transcend party line at this point?
Right.
Get out there, do the work, whatever that means for you. Continue to plug in with Isaac, continue to plug in with myself, continue to plug into whatever local communities you can. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.
Bye.